We're doing One More Word with Margaret MacMillan, and her new book is divided into 5 chapters: Persuasion and the Art of Leadership, Hubris, Daring, Curiosity, and Observers. And I would like to take the 4 federal leaders running in the current 2015 election campaign and see where you think they fit in among those 5 categories. Starting with, let's go fewest seats to most seats. Elizabeth May, the leader of the Greens.
Well, she's certainly got a lot of persuasion, hasn't she? I mean, she's immensely articulate, very persuasive. I would argue also she's quite daring because she's taking positions which are quite radical. She's focusing on certain issues. Her problem, of course, is that she's unlikely to be in a position where she's actually going to have to lead the country.
Not lead the country, but she certainly hopes to win enough seats to be able to have an impact in a minority parliament.
Yeah, and I think, having seen her interviewed, I can see that she would be very effective at that. I mean, she strikes me as someone who's a very good negotiator and very good at dealing with different sorts of people.
Justin Trudeau, leader of the Liberals.
Well, look, I think all politicians are risk takers because you wouldn't go into that career if you weren't, because you're always throwing yourself in front of the public. But I think he in a way is taking a very big risk. He knows that he's being attacked for not being ready. He's gone against the prevailing wisdom and argued that the Liberals, if they came in, would run a deficit, which I think is a brave thing to do. But of course, if you don't take risks, you don't get elected. Mm-hmm. So, you know, he is, I think, taking risks and so far looking quite, comfortable doing it.
We don't have a history in this country, as they do in the United States, of father and son both having been head of government. This could be, history making in that regard. Does that fascinate you for any extra reason because of that?
That is so interesting, isn't it? I hadn't thought of it, but yes, because unlike the Americans, we don't have these what appear to be dynasties.
We're
Bush
not
dynasties,
no.
Kennedy dynasties, and
Adams.
No, but perhaps enough time has passed. I mean, it's a long time since Trudeau was Prime Minister, and some of the strong feelings around him may have gone. And it strikes me that Justin Trudeau is in many ways a very different sort of politician from his father.
Oh, yes. Okay, opposition leader Thomas Mulcair, where do you put him on your list of 5?
Well, perhaps he's been too cautious. You know, maybe he should have taken more risks. I think he's been very careful at sort of coming to the center. And that's always it's always a place where politicians want to be, but you can be, you can find yourself in the position of then losing the people who supported you all along, and losing the people who want you to take a clear stand. Mm-hmm. So, I think the way the campaign's been going, there's a sort of sense that perhaps he should have staked out his positions a bit more clearly.
And finally, Stephen Harper.
Well, Stephen Harper, of course, is in the strongest position because he's in office and he can sit back and look statesmanlike. I would have thought, again, I think he's a risk taker, as all politicians are. I would have thought he is running into the danger that often very successful political leaders do, or he seems to me to be in danger of this, that they get surrounded by people who increasingly tell them what they want to hear. And so there's a continuous feedback. And it strikes me as interesting that there are not that many strong people left in his cabinet. And so you wonder if this is making him a little bit isolated, if he's really getting feedback from people who might tell him things he doesn't want to hear. As
a historian, do you feel somewhat simpatico with him, given that he is a published author, he keeps a diary, he has a deep fascination with not only his own history, but others as well? What do you think?
I don't know. I didn't know he kept a diary, and I find that very interesting. I wish he'd let us see it, but he probably won't for a while. I mean, as an historian, I'd love to see it, and just as a nosy Parker, I'd love to see it. I'm not sure he has a deep sense of history. He has an understanding of Canadian history, but I think it's a particular view of Canadian history, and I think history is so complicated, and I think there's so many different aspects we can see it from. I'm not sure, from at least what he said about history, that he sees a particular version of Canada. I'm not sure he sees some of the many nuances or the many different possible versions of Canadian history.
I'm going to infer from that you mean he's all about dates and battles and not so much about the rest of the picture.
Well, I think so. I mean, I don't want to be unfair because I appreciate anyone who likes history, but it seems to me the sort of this stress that Canada was a nation made on the battlefield is not getting all of Canada. I mean, it is true, we fought in 4 major wars in the 20th century. We have a very strong and a military tradition of which we should be proud, but there's much more to us than that. And I don't think this nation was made on the battlefield. I think it was made in many different fields. And so just to focus on the military history, I think, is a mistake.
Help TVO create a better world through the power of learning. Visit supporttvo.org and make a tax-deductible donation today.